Donald Trump and his lawyers aren't just looking to interfere with the investigation into the last election. They're not just looking to disrupt it. They might go a step farther than that. The Washington Post reports that Trump has, quote, asked his advisors about his power to pardon aides, family members, and even himself in connection with the probe, according to someone familiar with the effort. A second person said Trump's lawyers have been discussing the president's pardoning powers among themselves, which is just standard operating procedure when you and all the people you know are innocent of crimes. You just talk a lot about pardoning. You're just curious about pardoning. You want to know if it can save you. It does. Jay Sekulow, Trump's attorney, says pardons are not being discussed and are not on the table. So bear that in mind. But in light of this report, because
Jay Sekulow said it.
Yeah, Jay, you can take that to the bank.
We should probably just end this clip. But we're going to push on. We have a couple more minutes. So now there's this question. A lot of people are wondering, what is the extent of the pardoning power of the president? Can he pardon Mike Flynn? Can he pardon his family members? Can he even indeed pardon himself? And so a lot of legal scholars and law professors have been writing up their thoughts on this. And it is complicated. There have not been that many pardons this close to an administration. It's not really what the pardon was originally created for us to go back to. But we do have some guidance. A Michigan State University law professor said he can definitely pardon people who haven't been charged yet. And contrary to a common misconception, it doesn't require as a legal matter that he say they are guilty. So that again could be Mike Flynn, it could be Manafort, it could be Donald Trump Jr. And the general consensus is that he can pardon any of those people or beyond for things that they are being investigated for, things we don't even know about, things they haven't been charged with. And he can largely do that to whatever extent he wants.
He can start pardoning White House staffers as they enter the new job, as going through one of those like metal detectors and the pardon.
It could be like baptism.
Exactly, it can all be done at one time.
But significantly, you can't pardon yourself related to impeachment. That's in the Constitution, and you can't pardon if there was a state investigation. Like the pardoning power doesn't work if New York State, for example, were to prosecute him. But he might be able to pardon himself. Like that, we don't know.
Yeah,
that's a Supreme Court interpretive thing. Or?
Well, I'm going to jump into a little bit of legal arguments.
Oddly enough, it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened because the idea was that it's sort of a power of mercy that you can grant to another person, not that you would protect yourself in your inner circle from criminal charges. But I'm going to jump ahead because we could go into Gerald Ford, and he obviously he pardoned Nixon for offenses against the US that he committed or that he might have committed. You don't even have to like spell it out. It can just be like, you're absolved. But let's go way back in American history. In Federalist number 74, Hamilton notes that, quote, humanity and good policy requires that the pardon power ought to remain in the hands of the president. He argued for that, although some disagreed, rather than dispersed among the many members of Congress, which is actually how it works in a lot of states. Because the sense of responsibility he would feel in having such enormous power over another person's fate would ensure that he exercised it with, quote, scrupulousness and caution. Two words I think of when I think of Donald J. Trump.
Wow, Hamilton had a lot of faith, didn't he?
He did. He's naive, I think.
Yeah, there was seldom was Alexander Hamilton more wrong.
Exactly, yeah. Not saying anything about the show.
No.
Now, further, let's go to Jessica Lavison, Loyola Law School professor, who said this. Shortly before President Nixon resigned from office, the Office of Legal Counsel issued an opinion in which they cautioned that no one may be a judge in his own case. This is also a principle of so-called, quote, natural law. This meant the OLC said that the president cannot pardon himself. Although the interesting thing about the Office of Legal Counsel is that they're not the Supreme Court of the United States. Yeah, so that is something
that Brian Kalt, who you quoted before, says that this is a fiercely debated but unresolved legal question. That's ultimately where this is.
I mean, it would likely be a Supreme Court issue.
It would be now, but with a president, first of all, he could be impeached and removed from office, totally separate from whether he pardoned himself. In fact, you cannot pardon yourself to keep you absolved from the circumstances related to impeachment. That's directly in the Constitution. So removed from all this is whether, as a political matter though, pardoning yourself. I mean, again, I get it. No one, I don't think is more critical in general of this group of Republicans that we have in Congress right now. I cannot believe they would stand by while the president, after trying to fire the special counsel, then proceeded to pardon himself.
Well, I mean, here's how it's done, obviously, under the guise of this. Look, we are getting so distracted with this ridiculousness, this wild goose chase. They're not letting me follow my agenda. The American people hired me to do a job, and this insanity in Washington is preventing me from doing that job. I'm pardoning everyone. I'm pardoning myself. Let's get on with the business. I mean, it would be sold like that.
It would be sold like that, but of course, then
that would work for most dictators, I think.
And that's what he wants.
Right away, Duarte in the Philippines, he'd be like, you know what? I am going to come to the United States. It seems like actually a great place.
This mayor's just bothering me. I'm just going to kill him and then let's move on, people.
Yeah, so that would be challenged. So he would still have to deal with it as it worked its way through the courts, because there would be people obviously who objected. He would lose. I can't, as a political matter, that strikes me as such a gargantuan loser. I get it. There's that 36% stays through some things.
Well,
it would drop to 28%.
Well, look, again, that 36%, just to be pure about it, that's the overall electorate, the overall polled electorate. He's still got a strong Republican.
Totally, he's governing. He's governing to
over 80%.
He's governing to the 80% of Republicans who support him. That's all he cares about. So, and Nixon, even before impeachment, was still over 50% of Republicans. So it was a different time. There were different kinds of Republican in the Senate. There were men of significant principle. Barry Goldwater famously told the president, because Nixon was not impeached. Nixon resigned prior to impeachment, and he would have been removed from office because Nixon thought, well, I'll never get the 2/3 vote in the Senate. But Goldwater told him, no, Mr. President, you don't have the votes, and you don't have mine. And that was the final blow.
A conversation like that today.
Yeah. So you've laid out, you think, if he were to do that would cause problems for him. We never know with Donald Trump. He has weathered pretty much everything. But he has said that he might fire Mueller for things that Mueller has already done, so that might well happen. And he could well pardon his entire family and himself. And I think that is going to be an interesting moment for every American, in politics, outside of politics, in media, outside of media, where you have to ask yourself what you stand for and what you will allow. Are you going to hold our politicians accountable for what they do? Or are we going to lay down and just let Trump and his inner circle do whatever they want for the next 3 years? And we might well have to answer that question soon.
Real quick, in 15 seconds, what if Ivanka doesn't want him to pardon Jared? Like, can you imagine the power of being able to pardon your son-in-law? Like, oh my God, she'd be like, no, yeah, Dad.
Support independent media. Come join us at the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.